Sunday dinner used to mean something. It used to be a time where voices mingled over pots of greens and cornbread, where laughter echoed through the halls of a house built on sacrifices. But not tonight. The house was the same. Same chipped tiles in the kitchen, same creaky step in the hallway, but it didn't feel like home anymore. The living room was filled, my son, his wife, their kids, my daughter, and her husband. All of them sitting around the dinner table, but not a single place was set for me. I stood there for a moment too long, holding my breath. No one said anything, not even a glance. I took a seat on the old recliner nearby instead, like a guest in my own bloodline. When I tried to speak, "How was school, baby girl?" My granddaughter looked at her mother, then turned back to her phone. I watched those kids hug my son and call him Dad, while brushing past me like I was invisible. Funny thing is, I remember working 2 jobs to keep the lights on for that boy. Skipped meals so they could eat, missed sleep so they could dream, and now I couldn't even get a hello. "You raised them to fly," I muttered under my breath, not to forget who taught them the wind. I tried to make small talk, asked my son if he needed help fixing the leak I noticed in his sink last week. "We're good," he said without looking up from his plate. "We don't need your outdated thinking here." The words were sharp, casual, almost rehearsed. Something in my gut turned. This wasn't just moodiness, something was off. The dinner dragged on. The food looked good. Roast chicken, mac and cheese, collards, but it tasted like silence. I chewed slowly, looking around the table. Everyone avoided my eyes. Even my daughter barely acknowledged me. Then, out of nowhere, it happened. "You know what?" my son said, loud enough to stop forks midair. "You're useless now. Just a mouth to feed." The room froze. Even the air felt heavy. His wife stared at her plate. My grandson looked up, then quickly looked away. I tried to laugh, tried to ease the tension. "Come on now. What's this about?" But he leaned in closer, voice flat. "You're a burden, not family." No one spoke. No one moved. Even my daughter, my baby girl, whispered, "Maybe it's best you stop coming around." I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just stood up. Slow. Careful, like if I moved too fast, the pieces of me might break apart. I walked out that door with my spine straight. But inside, it felt like everything collapsed. Back at the room they gave me in the basement, bare walls, 1 lamp, a narrow bed. I sat on the edge, listening to the muffled voices upstairs. Then I heard the footsteps. The door flew open. My son stood there with a duffel bag, tossed it on the floor like I was checking out of a motel. "I want you out. By tomorrow." I looked at the bag. Half packed. A pair of socks, my razor, a wrinkled t-shirt. Things he thought were all I needed. I asked him quietly, "What did I do that turned my blood against me?" His eyes were cold. "You existed too long." There was a pause, not the kind where people reconsider, the kind that confirms everything. I didn't argue, didn't plead, just reached for my old coat hanging behind the door, slid it on slow, and stepped out. Midnight in Southside Chicago hits different when the wind cuts through your bones. I stood at the bus stop, the cold wrapping around me like a second skin. Lights blurred past. Cars drove by. No one stopped. I didn't cry that night. Not because I was strong, because the pain numbed every part of me. The wind on 87th and Cottage Grove didn't care who you used to be. It didn't ask for backstory or titles. It just cut through your coat and your pride the same. I sat there on that iron bench as the streetlights buzzed above me like they were tired too. Eyes stinging from the cold, hands stuffed into pockets that held nothing but lint and regret. It was the kind of night that makes you question if you're even still part of the world. Folks passed by without looking. A couple walked their dog and crossed the street before they got too close. I used to be the man folks waved to from porches. Now, I couldn't get a glance. Around 3 a.m., a figure shuffled toward me, layers of clothes stacked like armor. He sat down without asking, pulled half a sandwich from his pocket, and split it without a word. I hesitated. "You'll learn," he finally said, chewing slowly. "Out here, pride don't feed you." I nodded, throat dry. "Name's Harold." "Dwayne," he said. "Been out here 7 years." The first month's the hardest. After that, the silence gets louder. We didn't talk much more, but in that moment, I wasn't alone. And that counted for something. Morning didn't come so much as it snuck up. I hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every noise felt like a threat, but the sun cracked through the buildings and people started moving faster. The city was waking up, and I still didn't know what I was supposed to do. Around 6 a.m., I was rubbing warmth into my hands when a young woman walked past me pushing a stroller. Hoodie up, eyes forward. As she passed, a folded $5 bill fluttered to the ground in front of me. "Ma'am," I called out, reaching for it. She didn't stop. "That's for your dignity, not your wallet," she said over her shoulder. I stared at the bill, fingers shaking. The last time I handed someone money like that, I gave a man $100 at a gas station, said he had to get back to Gary, Indiana for a funeral. I never even questioned him. Just gave it. And now, I walked into a corner store, bought a small coffee and a one-day bus pass, sipped slow. It tasted like purpose. Found a crumpled napkin in my pocket and a free pen someone left on the counter. Started writing. I was homeless, but I wasn't storyless. Every letter was shaky, but it was mine. Later that afternoon, I passed by Jefferson Market, the same place I used to stop every Sunday for ribs and soda. Thought maybe I could sneak in, grab a sample, pretend things were normal for a minute. As I approached, I saw Mrs. Laney, lived 3 houses down from me for 20 years. I raised her fence one summer. She looked up, saw me, and turned so fast her purse nearly fell off her shoulder. Inside, the heat hit like memory. I stood near the hot bar, pretending to read prices. A teenager behind the register squinted at me. "Sir? You okay?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "Just warming up." Before I could answer more, a man in a button-up walked over. Store manager, by the look. He didn't smile. "We don't want loitering here." I didn't argue, just nodded again, turned, and left. Outside, I sat on the curb, unwrapped the last granola bar I had from the night before. Just as I was about to eat, a little boy walked by, his shirt too thin for the wind. He stared at the bar like it was gold. I handed it over. He took it without a word, but the look on his face, that warmed me more than any coffee ever could. By evening, clouds rolled in. I found shelter under a cracked bus stop awning, the kind you don't notice until you need it. Rain started slow, then steady. A woman, older than me, shivered next to the bench, arms wrapped tight around herself. I took off my coat, wrapped it around her shoulders. She looked up, lips trembling. "God bless you," she whispered. I nodded, not trusting my voice. I leaned back, eyes catching my reflection in the glass behind her. Wrinkled face, eyes that looked tired of hoping. But deeper down, something still burned. I didn't recognize that man, but I wasn't ready to say goodbye to him either. Just then, headlights swept across the sidewalk. A black Escalade crept toward the curb. Tinted windows, slow roll. The driver's side window eased down just an inch, enough for me to hear a voice I thought I'd never hear again. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn, leaving the streets slick and shining beneath the streetlights. I hadn't moved from under that awning when the Escalade eased forward, engine low, windows black. I didn't expect anything good to come out of a car like that. Not at this hour, not for a man like me. Then the driver's window slid down just an inch. "You look worse than I expected." I knew that voice. Even after all these years, all the silence between us, I knew it. Jeremiah, my older brother, the one who stopped being my brother long before he stopped being a presence in my life. He didn't get out. He didn't offer me a ride. No, "How have you been?" No, "Why are you out here?" Just that one line, cold enough to freeze me in place. I didn't answer. Words would have only fed whatever judgment he'd already made. The last time we stood face to face was at Mama's funeral. He blamed me for not visiting enough. I blamed him for never showing up when she needed him. Neither of us spoke the truth, that we were both angry at the same man, our father, the one who broke us before we had the chance to grow whole. A neighbor had once told us years back, "Y'all brothers need to fix what your daddy broke." We never listened. Maybe we didn't know how. Jeremiah watched me from behind that tinted glass, maybe expecting me to beg for help, maybe hoping I'd explode. Instead, I stepped back from the car. "Sometimes staying broken," I said quietly, "feels safer than being bent again by the same hands." The window went up. The Escalade rolled on, and I walked. By early morning, I found myself inside the shell of an abandoned train station, wooden benches splitting at the seams, dust collected in corners like secrets no one claimed. I sat with my back to the wall and pulled out what little I had, my coat gone, my pride thinned, but my journal, I still had that. Or so I thought. I must have dozed off just for a moment. When I woke, my pocket was light. Panic rushed my chest. I searched under the bench, around the trash bins. Nothing. My journal, gone. My words, stolen. The only proof I existed beyond what people saw, vanished. It wasn't about pages, it was about voice. Someone had taken not what I carried, but what I remembered. I stood there, fists clenched, fighting the rage that rose up like fire. I didn't deserve this. Not again. Not like this. Then I saw it. A scrap of torn paper under the bench, one line still visible, smudged but alive. I may be down, but I ain't out. I pressed it flat against my palm. Whoever took the rest couldn't take that. I made a promise right then, not to rewrite what was lost, but to write what comes next. By noon, I found myself walking streets I once knew by heart. Homes lined up, each carrying stories I helped build, wires I fixed, porches I painted. And then I saw it, a house with a red and white sign planted in the front yard. For sale. My house, the place I laid the first brick myself, the place I carried my wife over the threshold, the place where my son took his first steps. Laughter, arguments, Sunday mornings, all nailed into those walls. They were selling it, without a call, without a word. I crossed the street slowly. A real estate agent stood at the front door, phone pressed to her ear, keys jingled in her hand. She didn't see me. I was a passerby, a stranger, a ghost watching strangers walk through my life. I saw the curtains in the front window, still the same ones my wife chose before she died. Yellow with little white flowers. She thought they made the house look warm. Now the windows stared back empty. I built that house with my bare hands, I whispered. Now I'm the only one not allowed inside. I turned away before anyone could see my face crack. Walked down the sidewalk with steps heavy enough to bend the pavement. A car slowed at the corner. A child pressed her face to the back window, big eyes full of questions. She didn't know me. But for a moment she looked like she almost cared. Maybe I was never meant to get that home back. Maybe some things aren't meant to be reclaimed. Maybe it's time to build something new, just not with bricks. That's when I heard it. A payphone across the street, ringing. Loud, sharp, unnatural in an empty block. No one else was there. It kept ringing. I crossed the road. I lifted the receiver. And the voice on the other end, it shattered me all over again. The voice from that payphone still echoed in my ears the next morning, but I walked on anyway. My steps led me farther than I'd planned, farther than I thought these tired legs could manage. By late morning, I was standing in front of tall glass doors etched with the name Sterling Welling Associates. It felt unreal. A man who slept on cold concrete now pushing through the entrance of a law firm most folks only saw in headlines. Inside there was polished marble, humming lights, people in pressed suits, heads bowed over files. I caught glimpses of my reflection in the glass walls, unshaven, coat frayed, hands worn. A security guard at the desk looked up, not with cruelty, but curiosity. "You have an appointment?" "Yes," I answered, though even I wasn't sure if that was true. The receptionist confirmed my name without flinching. No pity, no surprise, just professionalism. She offered water. I refused. My hands were steady, but my heart wasn't. I sat in the waiting area watching sharp shoes pass by, their owners glancing but pretending not to see me. It was a familiar invisibility, except now it came with expectation, not rejection. The door to a side hall opened. A tall man in a muted gray suit stepped out. "Mr. Calhoun?" Sterling Welling. He didn't offer a handshake but a nod, respect without performance. "Come with me." Inside a quiet conference room, the carpet softened my steps. He laid a folder on the table between us. No small talk. "There are things you need to see," he said. He opened the file. Inside were documents sealed, signed, notarized. My name printed clearly. He explained, an inheritance, but not from my children. From someone else, a name I hadn't heard in decades, an old relative. a forgotten branch of the family tree. You are the sole beneficiary, Sterling said, under one condition. I stayed silent. You must relocate temporarily, live quietly, be evaluated as of sound mind. If you comply, you inherit everything. Your children inherit nothing. I raised my eyes at him. Did Dexter know? Sterling paused. He found out yesterday. Those words burned, not with surprise, but confirmation. My children had thrown me out thinking I had nothing left to give. And now they were about to learn I had more power in lost years than they had in their living lies. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Because the law acknowledges what blood refuses to. He sat back, studying me. This is a turning point for you. But I need to know, are you seeking justice or revenge? I leaned back, eyes on the window. Sometimes those two wear the same face. He didn't disagree. Sterling spoke then, not as a lawyer, but as someone who had done his research. He mentioned Jeremiah, our fractured past, sacrifices made and never spoken of. He asked a question I wasn't prepared for. If reclaiming your dignity means walking away from your children for good, would you do it? I didn't answer, maybe because I didn't know, maybe because part of me already had. He slid the final page forward, my choice in black ink. If I signed, I stepped into a battle my children would never see coming. If I walked away, I stayed nameless, voiceless, forgotten. I stood. I need time. You don't have much, he replied. Truth waits. The world doesn't. I left the room with the weight of two lives pressing on my shoulders, the one I'd lost and the one I hadn't asked for. Through the glass doors and onto the street, the sky had darkened. Light rain began tapping my coat. Across the avenue, I saw him, Dexter, leaning against a lamppost, watching, not approaching, not yet. He knew something had shifted. So did I. I didn't know if I was stepping into a web or learning how to burn it, but I kept walking. It was just after sunset when I heard the knock. Motel lights flickered overhead like they were tired of pretending to work. I didn't expect company, especially not him. Dexter stood there holding a plastic takeout bag and that same smile he wore when he was hiding something. He looked around before stepping in. Just checking on you, Pop. You okay? I didn't answer right away. Just moved aside, let him walk in. He sat at the little round table near the window, set the food down like we were about to catch up on life, like nothing was broken between us. We ate in silence. He didn't touch the burger he brought for himself. I barely touched mine. His eyes kept darting to the folder on the dresser, the one Sterling gave me. So, you really planning to sign that will, huh? There it was. I met his gaze, steady. You only come around when you think I'm useful. That ends now. His face twitched. He forced a laugh, but it came out flat. I saw the calculation behind his eyes, the way a man shifts from charm to control when he realizes one stopped working. I leaned back in my chair. My mind drifted. 2 years ago. He called me, voice full of urgency. Pop, I just need a little help getting this business off the ground. $7,000, no paperwork, no conditions, just family. Months went by. I waited, patient. Called a few times, asked gentle, always some excuse, waiting on a contract, supplier delay, bank hold. Then one day, I saw him roll up in a new truck, loud, shiny red. He didn't say a word about the money. I didn't bring it up then. But something cracked inside me. That quiet voice that always said, it's just money, got tired, because it wasn't about dollars, it was about respect. Every time I let it slide, I taught him I didn't matter. I snapped back to the present. Dexter was still watching me. What exactly did Sterling tell you? Enough, I said. His voice dropped. If you make this ugly, ain't nobody gonna be on your side, not even the church folks. Think about that. He didn't blink. He thought that would scare me. Thought shame was still my leash. I didn't respond, just watched him. He started to fidget. I'm just saying, don't do anything crazy, all right? He stood up, walked toward the door, but before leaving, he looked over his shoulder. Don't say I didn't warn you. The door closed hard. I waited, then got up, locked it, double-checked it. That sound, that deadbolt sliding home, felt different tonight. Felt final. If drawing the line makes me the villain, then I'll wear the horns with pride. I sat on the edge of the bed, thought about everything Sterling had laid out. I reached for the phone and dialed. "Sterling," I said when he picked up. "I'm in. Let's do it." "You sure? Will this get messy?" "It already is," he said. "Now it just gets formal." I hung up, pulled out a notepad and started writing. Not enemies. Boundaries, names, moments, promises made and broken, debts unpaid, not just money but dignity, all of it laid out in ink. They taught me silence was strength, but I'm learning. Sometimes silence is surrender. I packed a small duffel, not to run, just to be ready. The air in the room shifted, still, heavy, but for once, not on my shoulders. I turned off the light. Then my phone lit up. Unknown number, voicemail. I hit play. "Daddy." It was her, my youngest. Her voice trembling like it came from the bottom of a well. "I didn't know. Please don't sign anything yet." I sat on the edge of that worn motel bed, afternoon light crawling across the carpet like it didn't want to be here either. The folder Sterling gave me lay open, papers spread out like a puzzle of decisions I couldn't take back. My fingers hovered over Ellis's voicemail again, her voice still trembling through the speaker. "Please don't sign anything yet." I'd heard cries like that before, from her siblings, from myself, even. Cries that begged for truth in a world full of polished lies. I pressed pause. Dexter's warning still echoed in my head, slick with control masked as care. How many times had I chosen quiet, chosen to fold my pride so the room didn't catch fire? Too many. This time, I didn't flinch. I packed the old letters, the pictures they left behind like loose change they didn't care to pick up, folded them into my duffel, zipped it slow. I wasn't running. I was walking out of a cell I built with my own silence. I left before he could show again. Sterling's office was cool, clean. He was already waiting when I walked in, the table bare except for the paperwork. No small talk, just a nod, just business. I sat down and reached for the pen. My hand trembled once, not from doubt, but from history. Every page I signed peeled something off me. The fear, the guilt, the idea that their love was the only one I could afford to lose. Sterling watched, steady. "This is binding," he said. "I know." When the last page turned, I didn't hesitate. I signed it with the same hand that used to build their futures, carry their furniture, write birthday checks they forgot to cash. He collected the documents, tapped them square. "It's done," he said. I stood, nodded once, then so am I. Walking out of that building, that crisp folder in hand, I didn't feel lighter. I felt sharp, like steel that finally remembered what it was forged for. I drove straight to Ellis's school. Thought maybe I'd catch her at the gate. Instead, I saw the crowd first, parents, kids, staff all murmuring, their eyes aimed at the drama. Monroe stood front and center, her hair perfect, her rage practiced. "You had no right to sign that," she yelled, voice echoing across the front lawn. "You're unstable. This isn't legal." People stared, some with pity, most with judgment. I didn't raise my voice. "I stand in truth. You speak lies in fear." She stepped forward, closer than needed. "You'll regret this." "I already did," I said, brushing past her. Ellis saw me. Her small hand gripped her backpack strap tighter. I knelt down. "You ready to go?" She nodded, unsure. But she came, and that was enough. We rode in silence. Back at the motel, she hugged me longer than she had in years. Not out of fear, out of something else. I looked out the window. Dexter's car was there, engine on, lights off, like he was waiting for a reason. "Is this how it begins?" I whispered. I pulled out my phone. Started making calls, not to fight, to prepare. Witnesses, cameras, paperwork. If they wanted war, I'd answer with records, not rage. I didn't sign for revenge. I signed for respect, for the man I used to be, for the father I was trying to still be. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Breaking. Calhoun will signed. Community reaction tonight. Then the kicker. Live at 8. Ellis and Calhoun's turn. The night air carried the kind of silence that didn't feel restful. It felt planned, like something was waiting to break. I pulled into the lot behind the community hall, engine clicking to a stop as I spotted the rows of cars already lined up. The town had shown up. Whether for unity or spectacle, I couldn't tell yet. I walked up slow, one step at a time, head high, even if my insides rolled like thunder. This meeting, Dexter pitched it as a bridge, but it smelled more like bait. Inside, it was packed. Local leaders lined the front. Reporters clustered near the walls. Folks I'd worked with decades ago sat next to teens I didn't recognize. And there, center stage, Dexter and Monroe, poised, prepped, smiling too hard. A host nodded at me. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Calhoun." I didn't nod back. I just walked up to the microphone, placed my palms on the sides like grounding wire, and breathed. The kind of breath that knows the storm already started. Dexter took the mic first, did his usual polished concern routine, then gestured toward the side where Sterling stood. Unexpected to me, maybe, but clearly rehearsed for them. Sterling stepped forward, voice calm. By legal designation, Ellison Calhoun is the rightful heir to the Calhoun estate under the recently signed and notarized will. The hall snapped silent. Then, whispers. Camera shutters. Monroe's jaw went tight. Dexter blinked too fast. I didn't smile, didn't gloat. Instead, I asked the room, "You legally cut me out behind closed doors. Now you want to welcome me back in front of the cameras? This about truth or just damage control?" Dexter started to answer, choked on it. The tension hit the roof. Monroe rose next, voice trembling in that way people fake when they're trying to cry on cue. "We never meant to hurt you. We had to survive. We thought you were gone for good." That's when the projector screen behind them blinked alive. Someone had hacked into the feed. No, someone had planned this. It was her voice, Monroe in private, mocking me, calling me a washed-up relic, laughing with Dexter about how easy it was to flip the old man's story. It played raw, no editing, no hiding, gasps, murmurs. A few shouted, "That's shameful." One woman near the front crossed her arms, whispered to her friend, "Told you they were hiding something." Dexter stepped up fast, tried to shut it down, but the momentum was gone. I walked back to the mic, calm in my chest, fire in my gut. I built that home, laid the floors, painted the walls, paid bills y'all never knew came due. And when I got sick, y'all buried me with silence. I reached into my coat, pulled out a weathered page. This was from a journal Monroe kept, back when she still told the truth. I read a passage where she called me the only steady man who ever loved us right. Her own words, long before the greed. Reporters leaned in. Monroe's tears stopped. Dexter folded his arms, jaw ticking. I didn't shame them. I just said, "I'm not here to reclaim titles. I'm here to reclaim voice, and I'm offering one last open hand, truth or division. But I'm done sitting in silence." I walked off the stage as the hall buzzed into chaos behind me. A reporter slid beside me, lowered her voice. "They're airing that video on the 11 o'clock news, national." I looked toward the cameras. Flashes lit up like judgment. "You can't erase truth," I said, not just to her, but to the whole room still watching. I stepped onto the stage, the lights too bright, the cameras humming like judgment. Behind me, the local 11 News Live Calhoun Legacy banner hung heavy. The host's voice echoed through the mic, introducing me as the comeback father. The crowd fell silent. Then the screen lit up, showing Ellis's footage defending me, her face raw, voices of neighbors layered in behind, in real time. Reporters looked stunned. Some nodded, eyes welling. I stood quiet. Let her words speak first. Cut to outside the hall. Live feed shows Jax Dorsey walking past manicured blocks, then sweeping shots of alleys where homeless men slept. Anchor voiceover. From shelter to spotlight, stories of redemption. People on sidewalks whispered, "That's him." I used to see him at church. I watched monitors backstage. Monroe's lips trembled, Dexter's face stiffened, critics shifting in their seats. Back behind the scenes, Sterling's whisper broke through. "They'll try to spin the feed." A security guard raced past, saying the control room flagged interference. Through a velvet curtain, a man in a hoodie filmed us from a dark window. Reporters demanded mid-speech, "Is this revenge or justice?" I blew out air and said, "This is for truth. Let justice follow." The broadcast ended. Applause filled the hall. Monroe stormed off. Dexter glared cold. Outside, the rain had begun. Soft at first, then heavy. Cameras and phones raised toward me like torches. I stepped into the downpour. Then a black SUV screeched to a halt. The door swung open. A figure stepped out clutching a brown file stamped confession. The crowd recoiled. I froze. The stranger's voice cut through the chaos. I have proof they used forged documents against you. My breath hitched. The sky was barely cracking open when I pulled up to the gate. Mist hung over the gravel, soft like memory. I sat there a moment longer than I needed to. Engine off, jacket zipped all the way up like it was that first cold night on the bench. That same jacket still smelled like cement and old tobacco. Sterling walked over from his car, holding a thick envelope in one hand, a key ring in the other. It's yours now, he said, voice even, no ceremony. They have no legal stake, not anymore. I took both from him without a word. The metal clicked in my palm. I walked through that gate without looking back. Each step across the drive echoed like I was walking back into myself. Not a guest, not a ghost. Owner. I opened the door, felt the wood under my fingers. Not luxury, not pride, just peace. I didn't build this house with my hands, but this step, this silence, this morning, I built this moment. They locked me out, I whispered to no one. But God opened a door they didn't have the key to. The place was empty, not just of people, empty of the bitterness, the kind of still that lets you hear your breath and remember you're alive. I walked the halls, each room another mile back to my name. No champagne, no clapping, just a man returning to what should have never been taken. I had just set the folder down on the kitchen counter when I heard the engine. Tires rolled across gravel too confidently. I stepped onto the porch. Dexter was first out the car, buttoning his blazer like it gave him the right to still talk soft. Monroe followed, holding a tote like it carried guilt. We just want a conversation, Dexter said. Calm. Practiced. Dad, we're still family. We can work this out. There's no need to be cruel. Monroe's voice cracked. We were scared. Everything was moving so fast. We didn't mean to hurt you. We didn't know what else to do. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just asked one thing. When I had nothing, where were your arms? Their faces said everything their mouths tried to fix. They talked about pressure, about lifestyle, about not knowing how to slow the storm. I listened. Then I answered quiet. I already died once for this family. I'm done dying for it. No more speeches, no more long stories. I walked them both to the gate. Dexter tried again, something about working together. Monroe's lip trembled, but I didn't budge. I closed the gate without slamming it. Let it click soft, like a chapter turning, like a page sealing itself shut. Another car pulled up, smaller, quieter. Ella stepped out. Alone, she didn't look at her brothers, didn't need to. She walked straight to me. She didn't speak, just wrapped her arms around me and held on like she was afraid I'd vanish again. You'll carry my name, I told her, whispering against her hair, but not my wounds. I handed her the old journal. The one I'd rewritten page by page, each word remembered, each sentence restored. Write your own story, baby. Don't erase nobody, but don't let 'em write over you either. She nodded, still silent, then walked back to Sterling's car. She chose who drove her away, and that choice said everything. It hurt, but not like before. Not sharp, not bitter, just distance, and that was enough. Later, I sat on the porch. The sun fell like it was tucking the world in. My phone buzzed a few times, headlines still running. Local father reclaims legacy. Calhoun broadcast goes viral. But I wasn't reading those now. I thought about what forgiveness really is. Folks think it means letting people back in. Sometimes it just means letting go. I opened the journal one last time, wrote my final line. They said I was useless. Turns out I was necessary for my own rebirth. I thought about Dexter, Monroe, even Jax, and I wished them peace, but I didn't invite them back. This house wouldn't stay empty. I'd already decided. This place would be a refuge for men thrown out by the same blood that once swore to keep them. They called me erased, but now I was the one holding the pen. A knock echoed on the gate. I looked up. A stranger stood there, soaked from the rain, voice shaking. Sir, someone told me you help fathers like me. I stood, hand on my jacket, ready to open a new story.